Proof narcissist always gets replaced in the end. Have you ever noticed how narcissists always seem to find someone new almost instantly? One moment, they're wrapped up in a relationship with you. The next, they've moved on like nothing ever happened. And not just moved on, replaced you. Fast, effortlessly, ruthlessly. It's one of the most painful parts of being involved with a narcissist, realizing that to them, you were never truly irreplaceable. But here's the truth. Narcissists don't replace people because they've found something better. They replace people because they can't function without emotional fuel and you stopped giving it to them the way they wanted. That's why they move so quickly. That's why they don't grieve. That's why they don't look back. Because for a narcissist, relationships aren't about love, they're about control, validation, and power. So if you've ever wondered whether narcissists really get replaced in the end, or if they keep cycling through people endlessly, this video is for you. Today, we're going to reveal the psychological patterns behind why narcissists always get replaced, and how their own behavior sets them up for the very fate they fear most. Because karma isn't always poetic. Sometimes, it's painfully obvious. Let's start by understanding a key concept: narcissistic supply. Narcissists rely heavily on emotional energy from others, whether it comes in the form of admiration, conflict, confusion, or even your pain. That fuel keeps their fragile ego inflated. Without it, they begin to feel unstable, anxious, and vulnerable. So when you stop feeding that need, whether by walking away, setting boundaries, or simply no longer reacting the way they want, they panic. And what do narcissists do when they panic? They search desperately for a replacement. Here are the reasons why narcissists always get replaced in the end, and why they eventually become the ones who are discarded. Narcissists treat people like objects, and eventually get treated the same way. To a narcissist, relationships aren't about connection. They're about utility. You were useful to them for attention, validation, emotional stimulation, or even control. But once you stopped serving that purpose, they looked elsewhere. This transactional view of love and intimacy makes it easy for them to discard you. It also makes it inevitable that they will be treated the same way, because the people they attract, often empaths, codependents, or other emotionally available individuals, eventually see through them too. And when that happens, they get replaced, again and again, because they never built anything real, just temporary cycles of use and discard. 2. Their new relationships are never real, just repeats of the past. When a narcissist moves on to someone new, it rarely means they've found true connection. In fact, the new person usually mirrors the last one in looks, personality, or even behavioral patterns. Why? Because they're not looking for genuine compatibility. They're looking for familiarity. They want someone who fits into their emotional rhythm, someone who will react the way they expect, give them the same kind of attention, and allow themselves to be manipulated. So they recycle relationships using the same tactics, playing the same games, repeating the same patterns, until the new person sees through them, just like you did. And then, they get replaced again. 3. They can't handle being challenged, so they always lose control. Eventually, one of the most consistent truths about narcissists is that they cannot tolerate resistance. At first, they may enjoy the challenge, especially if you were strong, independent, or emotionally aware, but over time, that strength becomes a threat, because they can't fully control someone who doesn't play along. So they move on, hoping to find someone easier to dominate. But here's the problem. Eventually, everyone sees through them. Even the person they replaced you with begins to question their behavior, to notice the manipulation, to feel drained. And when that happens, they leave too, leaving the narcissist scrambling for another source of supply. 4. They create toxic cycles that end the same way every time. Narcissists thrive on drama, chaos, and emotional highs and lows, but those cycles can't be sustained forever. In the beginning, they charm, then they confuse, then they devalue, then they discard, and the cycle repeats with someone else. But every time they go through this pattern, they lose more credibility, more trust, more opportunities for real connection. And eventually the people around them, even the ones who initially fell for their act, start to recognize the red flags. So they walk away. And the narcissist is left alone again, searching for someone who still believes in the illusion. 5. They don't learn from their mistakes, so they repeat them. Most people grow from their relationships. They learn what works, what hurts, and what needs to change. Narcissists don't. They refuse to take responsibility. They rewrite history constantly, painting themselves as victims or heroes, never flawed human beings. That means they never actually improve. They never heal. They never evolve. And because of that, they repeat the same mistakes with every new person they meet. Eventually, even the newest partner begins to realize the same things you did. And when that happens, they walk away too. 6. They idealize new people until they can't anymore. The moment a narcissist finds someone new, they idealize them. This person becomes the one, the perfect match, the answer to all their problems. But this phase never lasts, because the narcissist can't sustain healthy emotions. They can't handle real intimacy. They can't accept vulnerability, theirs or yours. So they begin to devalue the new person, just like they did with you, just like they'll do with the next one. And each time the cycle ends the same way, with abandonment, with blame, with broken trust. 7. Their partners start talking, and the truth spreads. One of the most powerful consequences of narcissism is exposure. More often than not, the people who date narcissists don't stay silent after the relationship ends. They talk, they warn others, they share their stories, and over time a pattern emerges. Multiple people, sometimes strangers, begin comparing notes. They realize they've been played, manipulated, gaslighted, and suddenly the narcissist reputation starts to shift. They become known, avoided, unwanted, and that's when reality hits. They can't keep replacing people forever, because eventually, no one wants to be next. 8. They fear abandonment yet cause it themselves. Ironically, narcissists hate being abandoned more than anything. They fear being ignored, rejected, or forgotten. That's why they try so hard to maintain control. But here's the cruel twist. Their own behavior causes the abandonment they fear most. Because they manipulate, they lie, they gaslight, they devalue, and eventually, even the most forgiving person walks away. So yes, narcissists get replaced, over and over. Not because they're unlovable, but because they refuse to love in return. 9. They leave behind too many scars. Every relationship leaves a mark, but narcissists leave deeper wounds than most. They break trust, they destroy confidence, they confuse, isolate, and drain the people they're closest to. And once someone has been through that, they rarely forget it. Which means that even when they move on, the people they hurt don't just disappear. They remember. They warn others. They share their experiences. And slowly, the narcissist's world shrinks. Because no matter how many times they try to start over, eventually there's no one left willing to try. 10. Their ego prevents real growth and keeps them stuck. Perhaps the most tragic part of narcissism is that they prevent their own healing. They could change, they could grow, they could reflect, they could seek therapy or self-awareness, but they won't. Because to admit fault would mean admitting weakness. And to a narcissist, weakness is the worst thing possible. So instead of growing, they stagnate. They repeat the same behaviors, make the same mistakes, hurt the same kinds of people, until finally, no one is left to replace. 11. They lose trust and can't regain it. Trust is currency in relationships, and narcissists spend it recklessly. They break promises. They deny reality. They make people doubt themselves. And once that trust is gone with you, with the next person, and the one after that, it's nearly impossible to rebuild. So they move from partner to partner, friend to friend, job to job, always leaving behind broken connections. Until one day, no one is left to believe in them anymore. They become emotionally bankrupt. Think of narcissists like an emotional bank account. At first, they have credit, charm, attractiveness, charisma, But over time they draw from that account without ever depositing anything meaningful in return. Eventually the balance runs dry. People stop believing in them, stop investing in them, stop giving them emotional fuel, and that's when the narcissist truly begins to fall apart. Because without emotional support, without constant validation, without new sources of supply, they have nothing. No real friends, no real lovers, no real peace, just a long line of people who once believed in them and now know better. 13. Their worst enemy is their own pattern. Narcissists think they're in control, but the truth is, they're trapped in a loop of their own making. They fall for the same types of people. They repeat the same destructive behaviors. They create the same emotional chaos. And no matter how many times they start fresh, they always end up in the same place alone, angry, and wondering why no one stays. Because they never ask the real question. What if it's me? And until they do, until they face their own role in the cycle, they'll keep getting replaced. Forever chasing validation, never finding peace. 14. They think they're irreplaceable, but everyone becomes replaceable in time. Narcissists believe they're special, unique, irreplaceable. And at first, their partners might believe it too. But over time, the cracks appear. The lies, the manipulation, the coldness, the lack of empathy. And when that happens, the new person realizes something important. They weren't chosen for who they were. They were chosen because they were available. And once they stop giving energy, the narcissist moves on, proving that no one was ever truly safe from being replaced, not even the narcissist themselves. 15. The final replacement isn't romantic, it's loneliness. Eventually the cycle breaks. There are no more replacements, no one left to chase, no one left to manipulate, just silence. And for the first time, the narcissist faces something they've spent their whole life avoiding: aloneness. No mirror to reflect their ego, no audience to admire their performance, no supply to keep them feeling alive. And that emptiness? That's the real karmic consequence. Not revenge, not punishment. Just the quiet realization that they gave up real love for control. And in the end, no one stayed. So here's the truth. Narcissists always get replaced, not because they're bad people, but because they treat people like disposable tools rather than human beings. They cycle through relationships, not out of desire, but out of desperation, not for happiness, but for emotional survival. And no matter how many times they start over, the ending remains the same. They get replaced, again and again, because they never build real connections, only illusions, only games, only control, and eventually, even control fails them. So if you've already walked away, good. You broke free before they had the chance to discard you. You protected your energy before they could drain it completely. And now you're building a life where they no longer hold any power. And that's the best kind of karma there is. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, healing isn't about revenge. It's about choosing yourself again and again until you're finally free. Stay strong, stay wise, and most importantly, stay free.